Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our special meeting of council for Tuesday, April the 29th, starting here. We are going to be calling the meeting to order and starting off with our land acknowledgement. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge the Mokitas and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Liko Nakota Nations, Chiniki, Bearspaw, Goodstoney, and Tsuut'ina Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis government of the Métis Nation with Alberta District 4. Finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land and who honor and celebrate this territory. This sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation, and we are honored to have you join us on Treaty 7 territory. With this being a special meeting, no items can be added to an agenda for a special meeting, so I'm just going to call for a vote for the approval of the agenda, please. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Schindler.
I move that council approve the April 29th, 2025 special meeting of council agenda as presented.
Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So the purpose of our meeting here today is for the public hearing for bylaw 013-25, being the off-site levy bylaw. And so I'm just going to go through the proceedings for our for the public hearing. So I'm going to be calling for a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have that motion, please, to open the public hearing? Thank you. Can we just note the time, please? Thanks, Josh. So can I have a councillor make the motion to open the public hearing, please? Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. I move that the council open the public hearing for bylaw number 013-25 at 9:04 a.m.
Thank you. Comments, questions, council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Any individual or group that wishes to present at the public hearing must register on the designated sign-in sheet, either in support or in opposition of the bylaw. The public hearing is being recorded and live streamed and will be available to view on our website. The use of audio or video recording devices and cameras by the public or press is prohibited. So that sign-in sheet was on the table. I believe Ledge Services has it now. So I think they already announced to the gallery that if you were here to speak in favor or in opposition, just to sign in on that sheet. If you haven't had opportunity to do that, our legislative services team just over here will be able to assist you with that. The outline for the public hearing process is that we will receive a staff report from administration. We'll receive a presentation from the applicant, if this is applicable, presentations from the public in support of the proposal. Then we'll have presentations from the public in opposition to the proposal. A rebuttal presentation can then be presented just in any response to anything that was said in opposition. And then there'll be any final questions from council to administration. So I'm now going to ask for our staff report from administration to introduce the proposed bylaw. And so, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Madeline Fisk, and I am the Growth and Development Coordinator here at the City of Chestermere. Today, we will be discussing the offsite levy bylaw as previously stated. I do have a presentation, if Ledge could pull that up, please. There we go. Thank you. So just a very brief agenda for the presentation today, a summary of the presentation that was given over 2 weeks ago for first reading. So the agenda for today is to touch on the resolutions that were made on April 8th for the first reading of this bylaw. Then we will touch on the motions requested for today, the proposed rates for 2025, and the engagement that was completed with the industry. So the resolutions from April 8th 2025 is that council gave first reading to bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented, and that council had scheduled a special meeting, which is today, to hold a public hearing for bylaw 013-25, April 29th at 9 a.m. in council chambers. The motion request for today is we're coming to council requesting second and third reading for bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented today. So this is just a refresher from first reading. This is the same table that was presented, but just as a breakdown, these are a lot of numbers here, so I don't expect you to look through every individual one, but it is important to note that in the next slide, I'll show the map for Chestermere, but Chestermere is split into different areas, and each area contributes a different offsite levy rate. So on the left side, you'll see area 1 to 22, and then you'll also see what the rates would be per area based on the categories. So for water, sanitary, storm, transportation, recreation, fire, and the library offsite levies. So as mentioned in the next slide, I have the map here that was presented. This is the different areas that are in the city of Chestermere. There are different areas in Chestermere depending on what catchment areas and what infrastructure are required. All levies besides two we would consider global levies. So regardless of what area you're in, they will contribute the same rate. So that's for water, transportation, recreation, fire. All of those will be the same. The only two that will differ, depending on what area they're developing in, is sanitary and stormwater. And that's because these are different infrastructure. Different infrastructures is required depending on where that development is. And so not everyone will have to contribute the same. Again, just a brief summary of what was discussed before. The changes in this bylaw from last year are as follows. For water, there was a 6% increase. We received in 2024, there was an update to the utility master plan. And so we updated project costs, we updated the timing of these projects, which affected these increases. So for both water and sanitary, we saw an increase. Sanitary was 13%. Stormwater, there was a 9% increase. This was based on some older reports that were inflated to $2024. Transportation, there was a 7% increase. Recreation, 3% increase, and fire, 10% increase based off of that updated master plan. There was a new category added, which is the library. Total increase that contributed to the rates was a 4% increase, and the total average would be 12%, or to be more precise, it was 11.8% increase overall. Again, as mentioned previously, it is mandated under the Municipal Government Act to engage with external stakeholders because ultimately they're the ones that are paying these rates. So part of our engagement process, we've had over 5 engagement meetings with the development industry, and they have expressed a few concerns which are listed here on the screen. One is the overall concern with the significant yearly cost increases that we've seen over the last few years, as well as a concern with the new library business plan that was brought into the model. I believe that we'll probably take some time for questions after the public hearing, so I will just close on that and allow, if there are any questions on this summary before we go ahead, I will welcome those, but otherwise we can go right into the public hearing.
So thank you. So council, I guess I will put it to you. We can ask, we do have within the process of a public hearing where we could ask questions now to administration about the presentation from administration, or we can go through the process of hearing feedback from public, either in favor or opposed, and then do questions, or we can do both. So council, would you like to ask any questions at this time? I did see a couple hands go up. So I think if it's with administration, I think we would like to go ahead with some questions now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So Councillor Grant, I think I saw your hand go first.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. Through their chair to our presenter, Ms. Madeline Fisk, thank you for the presentation. It was very good as usual. I just have a quick question about inflation in our projects, and I just want to make sure that we are annually catching the inflation that is causing the cost of these projects to continually rise, so that at the end of the day, we're not on the hook because we didn't capture what the new costs are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the offsite levy project is an annual, we revisit this bylaw annually, and it's important for us to revisit inflation, timing of these projects. It's definitely something we look at and are cognizant of.
Councilor Worzanowski.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. And through yourself, our chair, and to you, our presenter, Ms. Fisk, I do have a question regarding some of the concerns from the development community in regards to their concern about increasing the rates. And to Councillor Grant's commentary, we've certainly increased the rates higher than inflation. I understand why. We're behind in our infrastructure, so we need to get our OSLs in place so we can get our infrastructure built up. I don't expect an answer on this question I'm going to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway. Did our development community give any indication on what the inflationary expected increase in costs that they would see on home building and development? Because in the end, while they are the ones paying the OSL, the home buyers will be the ones supporting them in regards to the revenue to generate the money for that OSL. So have they told us, like, the new homes are that's gonna expect us to increase our home prices by 10%? I know it's like a waterfall effect, but it's important because if we want to draw people into this community, we need to understand the effect it has on affordability.
Absolutely, and we actually do have welcomed some developers here today from Build, so perhaps during the public hearing they may have opportunity to speak on that.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Randhawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is on your presentation, where this is the change in a bylaw in that sheet. So there is all others like water, sanitary. It's a total in 2024. We did it 12% increase on those offsite levies. That's what it is, or it's always a stay as 12% from previous is coming is like, and we are adding only the new library levy 4% on top of that. How this thing? So which one do you give all the percentage on that sheet?
I'll repeat the question. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm understanding, you're asking where the percentage increases are coming from with all the other categories other than the library. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this year, these represent the change from the rates from 2024 offsite levy bylaw to 2025 offsite levy bylaw. And in between that period, we receive new reports, new cost estimates for these projects. And so we update the projects in the model, and then it comes out with a new rate. So these are comparisons from the new project costs to old project costs, and that's the increase that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Deputy Mayor Sambo?
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning. Through you to Mr. Edney and Ms. Fisk. I have two questions. Again, probably harder to answer, so just let me know if that's the case. The first thing I was wondering is, do we know how many hectares are expected to develop under the 2025 OSL bylaw at this time?
We do, yeah, and that number is included in the report, which is attached to the bylaw, but I believe it's 777 hectares in 25 years.
I must have missed that. Do you know where it is in the report? I'm sure it's in there, but there's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to reference the exact page number, but it is, you'll see some very large tables showing exactly where the projected development is to occur in what area, but it should have a brief summary table either before or after those tables, and maybe I can take some time to show you.
Mr. Edney?
Yeah, through the chair, it's on page 8 of the report or page 14 of the agenda package. Just states for this update, the city is forecasting development of approximately 766 hectares over the 25-year period. So very
Thank you.
close.
Yeah.
Good job, Madeline.
Amazing. Thank you. I see that now. See, that was so early in the report, I forgot it by the time I got to the end of it. Awesome. My other question, and now I'm wagering that it's in this report and I've just missed it somehow. But there's a legitimate concern there about the rate of increase being that I think 11.8. Do we remember what the rate of increase was over the last few years? What was the percentage increase last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I don't. I could pull it up for you, and maybe I could pull it up during the public hearing and present that after. Because I have a lot of numbers bouncing around in my head, and I don't want to incorrectly state one. So if that's all right with you, I can look it up during public hearing and bring it back.
Great, thank you. Any other, Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning through you to Mr. Adney and to Ms. Fisk. Thanks for the presentation. Just with respect to your last slide on engagement, and I'm looking at the letter that was provided by Bill Calgary, where they're requesting that we do not include the library component this year, providing time for fulsome process and review. You did state that you've had a number of engagements with stakeholders. Now, from the administration's perspective, do you think the engagement or the level of engagement, was that sufficient? I think you said you've met them about 5 different times. Is that too many, too few? Is that average?
Yeah, so 5 engagement meetings is normally what we conduct throughout this process. I would say that it's sufficient for the information that we had at the time. We had really great engagement on the transportation master plan, on the utility master plan. As you're aware, there's one report that was completed that may have needed some more engagement, and we didn't have. So I think it's a balancing act, but definitely for this time around, we've had some great opportunity to discuss their concerns and questions.
Okay. If there are no other questions at this time, and again, Council, you will have opportunity to follow up with some questions after we hear from the public. But just turning to Council one more time, looking both ways and doing that multiple times, like I'm crossing the street. Are we good right now for questions? Okay. Thank you. With this then, the as applicable part, I think would apply to this in that there's no applicant presentation for this because essentially it's our bylaw. And there's no applicant asking for anything. Is that correct? I'm doing okay today legislatively? Awesome. Okay, so I'm now going to be calling for public presentations. This would be in support. So I'm going to be calling for presentations from the public. Your presentations are limited to 5 minutes unless a motion is passed to extend the presentation time. But at this time, we'll be leaving it at the 5 people. We'll be starting with the people that are in support. And we're going to start with calling them in order as they appear on the sign-in sheet. So again, our legislative services has the sign-in sheet, so we'll be calling them in order according to the sign-in sheet before I will call for additional time for people to speak in support. So turning to legislative services, who is the first person that we have on our list in speaking in support?
So the first one for in support is Ms. Kavita Prasad.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I do have a little speech here that I'm going to read through, but I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for allowing me to speak. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mayor, Council, and observers. My name is Kavita Prasad, and I am the current chair for the Chestermere Library Board. Once again, thank you for allowing me to come to speak about the Chestermere Library and why it should be included in the new, why the new library should be included in the 2025 offsite levies. The Chestermere Library has been a pillar of the community for many years, and at first glance, a library might seem like a quiet place filled with books, but the truth is that libraries, including our library, is so much more. Libraries aren't just about information, they're about opportunity. I'd like to share a story that I actually heard at our library board meeting yesterday. And we were informed that because of the City of Chestermere Library, a member of our community and a patron of the library, a regular patron of the library, was able to feed their curiosity for the law and has now graduated with a law degree. This is just one story of many over the years. As Chestermere's population grows at a rapid rate, we need to be able to support our new community members and growing families who wish to live close to their loved ones. Personally, I do have many friends who have moved to Calgary, and I ask them why, and the reason is just because there isn't enough resources or activities for their children in Chestermere. This is already a huge issue. Most of the activities for children in Chestermere are either pop-up community events, which are fantastic, or they come at a cost to families. Thanks to the city for their ongoing support, we have been able to provide free library cards to families and amazing children's programs. And I just want to share a little bit about the programs that we do provide. For example, our summer reading program, there's 2 ways for families to sign up for these programs. One is virtually and one is in person. And virtually, it's the slots, I guess, are filled within minutes. And then the physical lineup that we have, and if you're familiar with the library, extends beyond, goes outside the doors and around the corner. So the demand is very, very high for these programs. And over the last 2 years, our door count has also actually increased by 25%. And so, that being said, that leaves the library as one of the very few places in Chestermere that people can access for free. If we look at our older youth, our teenagers who are in high school or young adults in post-secondary who need a safe place where they can study. And again, I'm going to be completely honest here. I love Starbucks, so I am at Starbucks quite often. But I always see students there studying either alone or with a group of friends. And then I go to the library and it's packed there with students as well. That's because the Chestermere Library is always full of other students who are studying. This is costing our youth money when they have to buy at least a coffee every time they need to study, but would like to stay close to home and not travel to Calgary. As humbly as I can, I must share the largest issue the library currently faces, which is space. We're currently housed in a 5,530 square foot space, and as per Alberta's 2018 Public Library Services Best Practices Manual, our library is currently only at 40% of where it should be of the provincial average compared to other similar sized communities. Now, if we're looking 25 years into the future, we should be in at approximately a 34,000 square foot space. So if we're looking at percentages, that would bring us, if we continue to stay in the same space, we're talking about 16% of where other libraries are at in a comparable size community. So again, that being said, the gap continues to widen unless we do something about it today. The library board has been advocating for a new space for many years, and our new library business plan, which previous leadership has asked us to share, and we have shared that document, speaks to approximately a 27,000 square foot space, which would be closer to the provincial average, but again, not meeting that average.
Sorry, 30 seconds.
Sorry. Oh gosh, okay, thank you. So as I stand before this current mayor and council today and I look around the room, I recognize the hard work and dedication that many leaders have put towards the library and in support of the library. Not only the success of the library, but the economic success of this community as well. I recognize the importance of bringing businesses to Chestermere like a data center to provide more jobs and opportunity for our citizens, but those individuals have families, they have children, and we need to support them. I can go. Oh, we're done?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. That's
I apologize.
okay. Thank you.
I gotta be that guy.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do we have a second name on the list speaking in support?
The second one would be Miss Dana Barbary.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So my name's Dana. I'm also a member of the Chestermere Library Board. Kavita's talked about a lot of the technicalities of what we're here to talk to you about today. So I'm really here because I joined the library board because I am a frequent library user along with my family, and I am on the library board because we love the library and see what it does for the community and what it means to the community. And I know that not everybody has the opportunity to be in the library and to have that experience. So just to share with you a little bit of what I think the library means to the community and why we need the bigger space. The first place I went to when I moved to Chestermere was to the library. And when I went there, I was connected with resources, with programs, and with the community. And I know it's a first stop for a lot of people, especially people with kids, when they move to Chestermere. The library continues to provide those services to the community, including to people who are new to Canada, to connect them to opportunities to learn the language and to integrate themselves into the community. The library continues to provide programming to small children, to older children, and to adults, and that's something that has really been expanded in recent years. But as Kavita mentioned, the library just doesn't have the space to meet the demand for programs. During the summer reading program last year, parents were actually lined up outside the building, hoping to get a spot for their kids if somebody didn't show up. I've seen in my time here registering my kids for programs that it used to be relatively simple to access programming, but now with all of the new people moving to Chestermere and the increased demand for programming, that it is extremely challenging to get your kid a spot in any of these programs, or as an adult to secure a spot for yourself. They are waitlisted within minutes, and the demand for programming is not something that the library can meet in its current space because there just simply isn't anywhere to put the people that want to access programming. The library offers a ton of resources beyond books. They offer Test Drive a Hobby kits, which let people come in and grab a new thing to try and bring home. And the demand for those, the wait lists have increased from weeks to months and months and months because there just is so much demand for everything that the library has to offer. I don't think that the library has the capacity to meet the current demand from the community, and that it won't have the capacity to meet the demand from the community, especially a growing community, until we just simply have more space and more ability to put people physically in the library than what we currently have now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Turning back to Ledge Services, do we have anyone else that signed up to speak in favor?
No, we do not.
Great, thank you. So with that, if you didn't have the opportunity to sign in, I'm going to call 3 times for anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw. And this can also be for anything that's related to this bylaw. So this is focused on one part of the bylaw, but again, we are looking at the bylaw in its entirety. So if there's anything else within that bylaw, then you can speak to that. So calling for the first time, if anyone would like to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw. And calling a second time for anyone who would like to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw. Don't worry, I feel as awkward as you waiting in that pause too. Don't worry. And calling a third time for anyone that would like to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw. Okay, thank you. I'm now going to be calling for those who would like to speak in opposition to the proposed bylaw, and we'll follow the exact same process. So we'll start with people who had the opportunity to sign in on the sign-in sheet, and we will again go in order according to the sign-in sheet, and then after that I will call 3 times for anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the proposed bylaw. So turning back to Legislative Services, if you could help me out again, do we have anyone on the sheet listed to speak in opposition for the proposed bylaw?
Yes, we do. We have 3. So the first one would be Mr. Sukhdeep Dhaliwal.
Great, thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, Council.
Good morning.
Name is Sukhdeep Dhaliwal. I'm a resident of Chestermere, East Acreages. As you're probably familiar with me, I've been here before. Couple of things I don't agree with the general OSL levy model. I know it's mandated by the province. I view it as a taxpayer. I view it as a tax shift. So by moving stuff into this OSL, council is not being accountable, or not accountable, but it's the taxes are being shown in a different bucket, which is not transparent. So property taxes should be property taxes, and by moving some of the costs over to this bucket, OSL bucket, essentially it's hiding from public perspective as the increases that we're seeing in our taxes. Second of all, I see from the last presentation the split in the OSL for the library that's being added to the OSL. I kind of agree with it, but I don't agree that 45-55 is kind of the split. I think, if I remember, or somewhere around those, that the OSL levies will cover 45% of the cost. I don't have the exact numbers, but I think that's too high. It should be somewhere, I would say somewhere in the 20%, only because by shifting it onto the developers, we're discouraging development. And library and stuff, it's something that's used by active citizens of the city, and they should be paying for it if they agree with it. And then the third part of it, I just want to know is, in general, including the OSL levies, there should be a chair or a position made that looks at the efficiencies of our tax dollars. I know you guys look through the excessive process of going through the efficiencies, but I can tell you there's lots of efficiencies to be had, and that position itself would pay for itself manyfold if city looks into that efficiency perspective. Part of it could be bylaws or understanding. Part of it could be coaching the city city staff. We've lost on that. And the third part of it is in the stormwater levy that we've seen, that part of this OSL levies. Part of it is there's some areas that are missing. For example, areas, I think one that's got the dashed for the stormwater. All areas should pay for stormwater. There's some areas that are omitted from the OSL levy. That should also be included. And the final input is our area 9 in East Acreages area. We were annexed by the city over a decade ago. We should be looked at as being existing infrastructure part of, and our levies are by far the highest right now on that chart. So we should be a fraction of what that's been put out on that chart. That's it for me.
Great, thank you. Turning back to Legislative Services, do we have a second name?
Yeah, presenting together, Mr. Michael Anderson and Miss Kimber Higa.
Great, thank you. I believe Legislative Services just helped me out on this, that presentation together is still limited to 5 minutes. We don't double it because we doubled the people. Okay.
I agree with that.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kimber Higa. I'm with Build Calgary Region. And joining me today is Michael Anderson, who is chair of our Build Chestermere Developer Committee. So we did submit a letter that was included in the agenda package. We're here just to kind of supplement some of that information. We have worked since 2019 on annual updates to offsite levy with your administration. We've built a really great working relationship. Our focus in 2024, admittedly, was more focused on the UMP and TMP updates. We found great efficiencies and cost savings there. Our position that we are asking for is an amendment to not include the library category in this year's offsite levy. We do feel over the next year that there's a lot of important discussion that we can have with administration to find efficiencies and alternatives, both to the benefit of new and existing residents. I think there's long and short-term solutions that could be found because, as we've heard, the need is now. And also, just to clarify, we're not disputing or in disagreement with the needs. We just want time to find the best, most efficient solutions. And I will let Mike
Yeah, thank you, Kimber. Just to add to Kimber there, we've been, since community service levies have been allowed to be included in levies since 2018, we have actually worked with administration. There is a rec and fire levy that have been in place, and we have supported those in the past. So this is another one that we're adding to there. As Kimber mentioned, we're not disputing the need for a new library. It's just having that fulsome discussion on the exact costs of it, which obviously benefits us in paying the levies, but it's also a proportionate share that is going to be borne by existing taxpayers. So we want to make sure that there's the best cost included in there for everyone involved. The UMP and the TMP were done this year. The fire master plan was also done, and we had long conversations with administration on all three of those documents. That hasn't occurred on the library needs assessment. So we want that opportunity to provide some of our input and our expertise with our consulting teams and our builders to come up with a better solution for everyone involved. So thank you very much for your time.
And just to kind of supplement an answer to a question asked earlier of administration, there's a lot of uncertainty with the political environment right now for development, so it's hard to give a fast and factual number, but from discussions of our membership, most are anticipating or have included a 10 to 15% just material cost increase because of that uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else on the sheet for speaking in opposition?
Through the chair, no, there's not.
Okay, thank you very much. So now following the same process as we saw for speaking in support, I'd like to call 3 times for anyone who would like to speak in opposition. So calling the first time for anyone who would like to speak in opposition. Yeah, absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. My name is Colin Gill. I'm the resident of North Acreages. So I just had a few things I wanted to point out. As Suk pointed out, there's areas in the oversized levy charges for stormwater that is not included. One of them being on Marina Drive, and the other one is right by the lake. There's acreage there. So I'm just wondering why those guys are not paying for the levy when they're not developed yet. And the other one is I disagree with the library increase. As we all know, we're trying to entertain our city to the developers. It just increases more, and it just makes them hold back on our developments. So I think adding that, not having the library, but there's other ways of collecting money for the library. I think that should be explored more rather than adding a fee to the oversized levy and discouraging developers to come here because the increase of levies. So I think it should be offered to the developers as big developers that come in, they want to do something with the city or they want to put their name to it. But those are things that we could be asking them if they want to cherish or they want to put money or their label to the library as a support of that. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Calling a second time now for anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the proposed bylaw. And calling a third time for anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the proposed bylaw. Yes, this very much feels like a Ferris Bueller. Anyone moment. Thank you to those who got that reference. You make me feel young. Okay, with that then we'll go back to, in this case, we'll end up going back now to administration for any closing remarks that you may have or anything that you would like to speak to with regards to things that were said during the public hearing, and then open it up again to council to ask our administration any questions that they may have that may have risen during the feedback we received during the public hearing. So, Ms. Fisk, are you up? Okay.
Yes, thank you. No more comments on the presentation itself, but through the chair to mayor and council, and specifically Councillor Sambo, we did pull up the numbers just to compare the rate increases. We have the numbers from 2019. So from 2019 to 2020, there was a 3% increase. There was no revision made to the bylaw during the COVID years, during 2020, 2021. But from 2021 to 2022, there was a 30% increase. 2022 to 2023, there was 18. The next year was a 5.6% increase, and then this year we're proposing 11.8%. Yeah, as mentioned before, no more comments on the presentation itself, but we can open it up for questions if there are any.
Great. Sorry, Mr. Edney.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning to the rest of council and yourself as well. I think this is probably a good opportunity, just from administration's point of view, to put some comments in around the offsite levies in general, some of the comments we've heard today, and some of the processes we're looking at. So I think as council, debates and considers what you'd like to do with this, I'd like to make a couple of clarification comments on things I've heard. So these offsite levies are not sort of a tax. They're not a magical thing we take and put into our operating budget. It's concrete money to build projects that the city needs for infrastructure. As a current resident, I have paid those when I bought a house. My house includes all the infrastructure that was needed to service my house. If we don't have the developers pay for the infrastructure that's needed to service the new houses, the existing taxpayers will have to pay for that. These are projects we have to do as the city to continue to grow, and somebody has to pay for them. We also just heard from Build that they're expecting 10 or 15% for materials and cost. We experience these same things when we buy pipe, when we buy cement, when we procure services. So yes, it's frustrating, and I can see that from the development community, that costs continue to go up, but this isn't something that administration is just saying we need this money to put into some pretend budget. As you're aware, we're going to go into budget discussions after this meeting. We don't have an excess of money in any of these accounts. In fact, we're underfunded in all of these accounts right now to try to do any of the work that we need to do over the coming years due to the pace of growth. I do agree, administratively, we want to encourage the growth, but we have to find, as council, that balance of who is paying for that. The other thing is, every year that you delay collecting on any offsite levy means that opportunity is missed. We only have so much land, we only have so much development that's going to happen. And every year that you fail to collect anything that you want those new taxpayers to pay for ends up falling on current taxpayers as a burden. So I think I just wanted to make sure, I think that was clear. Because we've heard some contradictory comments on both sides of what the intent of the offsite levies is. I do agree the collaboration with the development community is important, but I think I just want to stress with council that this is money to build projects that new houses and new communities need. It's not something we're just making up. So maybe I'll close on that.
Yeah, no, thank you, sir, Mr. Edney, and administration. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Just before I turn to council, there's some clarifying things that I would also like to clarify. I'm going to do some in the form of statements, some in the form of questions. I also, my understanding too is that municipalities handle their offsite levy model differently. So, for example, City of Calgary has an OSL model, but for City of Calgary, for roads, for example, they collect them on what they call skeleton roads, but not necessarily arterial roads, and then that the development community does that, whereas we have a different model when it comes to roads. And so my point with that being, in terms of comments that were made with regards to how OSLs are essentially mandated by the province, that's not necessarily accurate, because municipalities can handle what they're doing within their OSL models according to the needs of their own municipality and or policies or needs of their community. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Great, thank you. And then the other one that I wanted to clarify was, so there is a property that is in Kinnenberg that currently remains undeveloped. It's about 11 acres that currently remains undeveloped. It is currently has two zonings on it. One is for special rec, and then the other one now is a 55 plus community. At the time that party comes to council and comes and gets their development approval done, they would then, because right now there are no offsite levies that are paid on those particular acres. When it comes to the time of development, that is when they would pay offsite levies. Is that correct?
Typically, when offsite levies are paid is at the time of subdivision.
Thank
So
you.
without going back, I don't know the history on that site to know if we collected and have a DA and offsite levies at
Sure.
this point in time on that. I don't know that. So typically it's at subdivision. And we would, when that comes forward, that is something we would be evaluating as part of their approval process. My understanding right now is that they're looking at a land use to match the
Sorry. No, let me back up my question because maybe I was being too specific. What I was trying to do is what I'm trying to demonstrate is the concern that was raised with regards to an already existing community. So maybe if I back up my comment just a little bit, these 11 acres exist in an already developed community called Kinnenberg, right? There's going to be a change. There's a proposed development that is coming, proposed subdivision that is coming, right? There's been all sorts of work that's been done with this. The reason I'm going with this has to do with the concern with regards to an already established community. When there is a change that would then cause a subdivision, which then causes development, no matter where it is, right, in our community, that is when the offsite levies would be applied.
So you can only charge offsite levies once.
Right.
So when anyone comes in, I'll use acreages as an example. When they come in and it's in an area that's a developed area, there's already been subdivision, so it's not a full quarter section. The onus is on the applicant to show if they had paid any offsite levies. So there's a chance that maybe they paid one bucket when they were in Rocky View County, or 3 buckets, or none.
Right.
And so we go through an evaluation with that landowner and that applicant to prove out if they have done any. If they have not, then they will be charged. If they did pay, we have no right to collect again. So it's kind of like pay them as soon as you can because the prices are only going up.
Right, but that is also true. My point where I'm going with this is that is true within any area, right, when that subdivision happens.
Across the province of Alberta.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. Mr. Edney.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to add on to that, Liz and I were just kind of chatting on the side. To remember, subdivision isn't necessarily the last subdivision, it's the first subdivision. So even though a lot may not have had a house built on it, I can't comment specifically on that
Sure,
site
I may have
right
been
now,
too specific.
But I would garner that was paid by the developer
right,
for that land when that land was subdivided, right? So, you know, if you're a developer and you're subdividing off 20 hectares and it's going to have a whole bunch of houses, you don't pay your offsite levy as each house builds. You pay it as you've subdivided.
Right.
So I would suspect in these areas where we don't have a collection, that's the reason is at some point in the past, we had already collected that offsite levy for those.
Great, thank you. And then I also wanted to speak to concerns with regards to efficiencies, and you've already mentioned it. We are going into budget discussions, and that is a tremendous priority for this council. Mr. Edney.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to add, Your Worship, through you to council too, is all of these projects are tendered, procured under our procurement policies. They're treated in the same manner as any of the other capital projects we do that are funded from taxpayer dollars. In some cases, we work with the developers. If they think they can do a project a little bit cheaper, work to have them do it. So again, there's probably some efficiencies we can look at. There always is organizationally. But again, we're going through the process when these projects are built to tender them to get the best prices that we can. So,
Great, thank you. I did have one question though, with regards to the some areas omitted from the offset levies. I was just wondering if you could speak to that for a moment.
Through the chair to mayor and council, are you referencing specifically to the stormwater?
Yes.
Those comments that were made?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as mentioned previously, sanitary and storm are addressed a little bit differently than all of our other offsite levies because there's different infrastructure required in different areas. So to comment on those specific stormwater areas that are omitted from the levies, those areas are within, and I don't know, this is just a term that I've heard, but we consider it Old Town Chestermere. So it was before the annexation of Chestermere, there was the land around the lake that has existing infrastructure. So any of those areas that are to be developed now that haven't been developed previously, there is existing infrastructure in the ground. So there's no need for them to contribute to stormwater outside of that catchment area because there's existing infrastructure for them to tie into already.
Okay, thank you. Council, now turning to you. Thank you for your indulgence there as I kind of peppered away with questions. Councillor Narayan.
Thank you, Worship, through you to staff. Now, I like to think that all developers are built differently. There are some, big, more sophisticated ones, and then there is those such as North and East acreages where these are residents / developers. Now, within our bylaws, do we make that distinction, which would then reflect the amount of our sales they pay?
Through the chair to council, there would be no exception there. We haven't, in our policy currently, we are expected to collect the same rates, regardless of your classification of a developer.
Councillor Ryan, you look like you're pondering something.
Thank you. And thank you for that, Ms. Fisk. And I guess maybe this is more to either Mr. Adney or Disruptive Council. If this is something that even this council wants to look at, because I think there is a difference between developers. I don't know how I would categorize them, but when I hear about developers coming and developing hectares of land compared to residents of North or East acreages that are trying to, develop acres or subdivide acres, I think there is an important difference there. And I just don't know if we should use the, cookie cutter approach to the USL. I don't know if policies, I've heard, we don't have a policy. I don't know if that's something that should be a policy or it's something we should be looking into. But yeah.
Perhaps I can make an additional comment to that. So we do not have a variation for different types of developers. However, within our policy, there is a section in there for exemptions to who needs to pay offsite levies, and that is dependent on the type of development that they'll be doing, which often is reflected by, for example, in the East acreages or North acreages, the types of developments that they'll be doing do not reflect that of our larger developers within the city. And so that's where these exemptions would come into play, not necessarily the developer's experience, but the type of development.
Mr. Adney?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just through to Councillor Narayan and the rest of Council too, to add on to Ms. Fisk's comments. She hit it on the head there. One thing we've been working through, we do have exemptions in our policy for when the offsite levies come into full force, and essentially in the acreages, it's at when they go to, I guess we would call it full development. So regular style houses on the property. And I think back to the comment of the different developers, the infrastructure in the ground that we build doesn't care who the developer is on the other side tying in. So I think that's that issue of trying to treat anybody differently. We're still building the same infrastructure, and the key is we're building the infrastructure bigger than it needs to be to account for those future residents coming in. So at some point we have to collect back that money as you're going through these. And again, it's hard to differentiate one developer or one builder versus another when you're putting in a storm pipe or a road. So
thank you. Councillor Grant?
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to our presenter, I'm just looking at the offsite levy map. I don't know if you can pull it up or not, Josh. The numbered map. And I'm looking at Kinnenberg, and it doesn't have a number on its side, so I'm assuming that it's number 15. And if you look at the number 15 of the rate it pays, it never paid a storm water levy. So Kinnenberg didn't pay any stormwater levy at all.
That's correct.
So was the assumption that it tied into the infrastructure down East Chestermere Drive?
Yeah, that is correct. So Kinnenberg falls within the same catchment area. All of that stormwater falls and drains into the lake.
Okay, so it's in the watershed area.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Adney?
Yeah, thank you. Just to Councillor Grant, I just want to add on again to answer your question there of Ms. Fisk. I think one thing we have to make sure that we understand clearly is, I'm going to pick on Clearwater Park as an example. When they're putting their stormwater pipes underneath their road, they're paying for that as a developer. That's not an offsite levy project. The offsite levy project is the main storm trunk that the city has built to funnel everybody's stormwater in. So Kinneberg, for example, already had that main infrastructure in place and just needed to then put their infrastructure for their community. And they didn't need to tie into, for a stormwater example, our big CSRO project that we're planning. They were able to just go into the lake. So that's where the offsite levy is different than what's being developed.
Sure. So theoretically, shouldn't they have been entered into an endeavor to assist in the existing infrastructure that was installed originally? So like with our stormwater on the west side, how there's that giant stormwater pipe that the other developments are having to enter endeavors to assist to help pay for that oversized infrastructure. Yeah. Did Kinneberg help pay for the oversized infrastructure that was installed on East Chestermere Drive? This is a long time ago. I completely
Yeah, I think we'd have to go
completely
back
understand.
and do some research.
Yes.
I don't think any of administration in the room today was here then.
No, definitely not.
And so we would need to dig into some files to get some information on that.
Sure, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole, and that really wasn't my question. That kind of led up to the area that I wanted to talk about, which was Area 7. And is that under the same situation? Even though it's a new area that's been subdivided off, it's still not having to contribute to that stormwater main. Even though it's going to add extra storm, lessen the life expectancy of the infrastructure.
Sorry, Councillor Grant and administration, just really quick on this. My thoughts on this is outside public hearing, and this is more specifically to I'm not trying to shut you down at all.
All good.
My thought would be that this could be something that could be explored because we don't have to do second and third today. So this could be something that, if Councillor Grant wishes, could be something that could be explored, and we could look at approval of second and third moving forward. But I just wanted to turn to administration for a little advice on this. My feeling is that these questions, while absolutely valid, and I have same curiosities, I wonder if this is outside of public hearing at the moment, which we are still technically in, and has more to do with the debate on bylaw, if you will.
Yeah, I accept that, Mayor. That's completely fine. I'll save my questions for a more appropriate.
Yeah, like I think they're totally valid, and I'm with you.
all good.
I just
All good.
think they're early.
Sure.
Okay. Is there anything else that council wants to question with regards to the what we heard with regards to concerns? Councillor Warzanowski.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I'm hearing a tone of uncertainty here from everybody who's presenting on both sides, and I have some of those same concerns. So through our mayor, the chair, to you, Ms. Fisk, I'm looking, and thank you for providing the information that I know I was asking about in regards to the cost per hectare of OSL funds. And I also appreciate you explaining how the OSL funding model is structured in a previous presentation. What still is confusing, at least to me, is when I look at the funding per hectare, there is no consistency based on density, based on size, based on area. And I don't know if there's a way to normalize our OSL model as it compares to other municipalities. Has that been looked at by administration and our subscribers to the OSLs?
I would like to just make a comment through the chair to council in response to your question, maybe half of a response to your question. Just reiterating what our CAO had mentioned previously, that it is important to note that what the developers are paying for is not for the infrastructure on their own land. What they're paying for is for off-site infrastructure that the city will build. So you'll see an inconsistency that is not directly correlated to the density, is not directly correlated to what types of buildings they're constructing. What it is reflecting is those main projects. So if we use the CSRO as an example, that stormwater pipe, we calculate that based off of total population in 25 years, but that developer is not contributing based off of whether they're building apartments or homes. I think that, yeah, I'm not sure if that
No,
makes
no,
sense.
that does answer my question to some extent. So would it be safe to say that the average cost per hectare from municipality to municipality really doesn't have any correlation in our model? What's more important is understanding what do we need, what is going to cost, and can we get our developers to pay for it? You know, and of course later the home buyers and the taxpayers as we develop those OSLs.
I would say yes to your question, and again, it's important to note that I think a lot of these questions are not actually around the model itself. It's around these master plans that are completed. So the master plans are what we input into the model, but the model calculations, all that it's doing is the input and output, but the actual where these project costs are calculated are these master plans completed prior.
Okay,
Mr. Edney?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just to add on, just a point of comment too, and I think this is a good spot to wrap some of the other issues we're seeing in the community come back to. So to the question, this is part of the push for more density from the developers, is that cost per hectare is the same whether they build one house or build 25 apartment buildings. So it helps the development community when they can put more houses on that land to then reduce that cost per homeowner. So thought I'd just kind of take this to point that this is where we're feeling that tension, I think, from what it's costing to do everything for the city, and then the push towards a little bit more density to help pay for that.
And I also want to go back to a real-time example, if you will, because we're all experiencing this right now, driving along Chestnut Boulevard. So what you're saying is all that work that is, rather public right now, because they're big pipes and are really public, everybody drives on that road area. All of that work is not what's paid for by the city. That is the work that is paid for by the developer. Is that correct?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Catherine Doherty. I'm the Manager of Infrastructure and Planning here at the city. So that's a really good point, Mayor Dean. I think one of the key aspects of that is in that specific case, that is a fully offsite levy project because it's to service the growing communities we have, and it's to service much more than that. So that water line and sanitary line that are going in are basic infrastructure that are required for the Clearwater Park development to exist, but it's beyond the Clearwater Park development. So there will be future endeavors to recoup that cost as other part of that Area 10 gets developed. We'll be working out the financing of that, but that was a fully upfront investment so that that Area 10 could effectively be unlocked so that there would be appropriate servicing for that.
Great, thank you. Okay. Looking to council, is there anything specific to public hearing with regards to either the presentation that we saw and or what we heard from residents either speaking in favor or opposed? Any final questions for administration? Okay. With that then, I am going to ask for the motion to close the public hearing for bylaw 013-25. Can I have a councillor make the following motion to close the bylaw, public hearing, to close the public hearing? Councillor Grant.
I move that council close the public hearing for bylaw 013-25 at 10:05 a.m.
Comments, questions? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. With that, I'm going to ask that we take a short recess before proceeding with the next, with the ongoing part of our special meeting, and we will come back at Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back. We're just coming out of our break, and now we're going to proceed to the next part of our special meeting here today, and that will be to review bylaw 013-25. One of the things that I certainly appreciate about working with this council is the number of questions that we come with, and how prepared that we come with our questions and comments, and this council's ready to go. I smirk a little on the inside when Ms. Fisk says, I don't expect you to read every number on every line. I think I can assure administration that this council reads every number on every line, which I think you can see from what comes from the questions that we ask. So just as a matter of due process, just as a quick instructions to council, if you will. So speaking with Legislative Services and our CAO here at the break, what's going to happen is administration is just going to bring some opening comments with regards to bylaw 013-25 with some options for us to explore. There's going to be some opportunity to ask questions if we want to ask about the bylaw. Council, if your questions are with regards to debate, I'm going to ask you to hold off on a comment that's with regards to an opinion or a debate until we make the motion for second reading. At that point, then we will open up for debate, if you will, and I would ask your patience, as I may stop you in a comment that if I'm feeling like it's a debate, I'm just going to hold that off until we make the motion for second reading. At the time of second reading, we can then debate specifics that are within the bylaw before proceeding to voting on second reading. But also, please remember that we actually don't, I mean, if we wanted to, we could table everything and wait if we were wanting for more information, or we could proceed with second reading and then not do third reading today if we didn't want to, and then proceed. So just as a matter of due process, I know that again, I also think with this council, when they're asking questions or bringing comments and things like that, I think there was a comment about efficiencies and things like that. I think that this council works very hard at getting it right, and I do believe that one of our councillors has often talked about getting it right and getting it right the first time. And so I think that that's an important part and a value of this council. So, with that long, rambling speech, hopefully about something, I'm going to turn it back over to, I believe I'm turning this back over to Ms. Fisk for the moment. Awesome. And she's going to bring forward some options for council. So, good morning again.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor, and through the chair to yourself and council. I'd actually just like to take some time to restate the motions that we're requesting for today. So motion number 1 is that council gives second reading to bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented. And the second motion for today is that council give third reading to bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented. As has been circulated, a part of this package at the end of the request for decision, there are a few other options for consideration of council. And along with that and any questions that were raised in the public hearing, I'd just like to open it up. Now, if you have any questions on those options, any comments, as well as any discussion from before, if you'd like to bring it up now.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions that council wants to ask at this time, either of administration or even with regards to process to Legislative Services with regards to the approval of the bylaws at the moment? Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, my question is about this other option to consider of reducing the OSL rate for the library by a certain percent. How does that factor in for the standard due process? How would you recommend if council wanted to go ahead? As what we've heard is that the rate needs to be backed by a documentation. So if this was some percent, it wouldn't necessarily be backed by documentation. How would you recommend approaching that?
Yeah, so we have mentioned before, this is some precedents set previously with the city of Chestermere. This has been completed in prior years in 2021 as well as last year in the transportation. So the process that we would go through would be if council would like to revisit this report and look at some alternative options for the estimates, and council may also approve a reduction, a temporary reduction in the levy during this process. And what we could do here is it's with that condition that we are revisiting the report and making it public, that's our intent here, and report back in the 2026 offsite levy bylaw revisions.
Okay. Thank you. Also, sorry.
Sorry, I just want to build on that as well. Councillor Sandbo, to your point. So what we've seen historically done here is, say if we did a 50% reduction for the offsite levy rate for 2025, it would enable then, because under the MGA for offsite levies, there's other requirements for the engagement. So it would allow administration and the development community, as well the library board and the other stakeholders, to refine that report. And what we come to at that, we can't predict. So that could very well come back that the actual library need is double the cost of the existing report, or it could be half the cost of the existing report. So it enables the time to do that work. And then what would happen in 2026 is when that report is finalized and we have full buy-in from all of the different stakeholders, whether that's the development community, the city, understanding those proportionate rates differently, then that is what would be reflected in 2026. So even, I don't want to use the word if we get it wrong, but if we're reducing it by an amount this year and that report comes back and says something else, we're just correcting course for 2026. So it's shown as an opportunity of good faith that both sides are going to work together with the spirit of the MGA, come to a resolution over the next year, and that is what would be reflected in 2026.
Just a question on that, though. Okay, so under the guise, if we get it wrong.
Yes,
right?
Shouldn't have said those words.
No. I was going to use the same phrasing, so I'm with you. So if we get it wrong, though, my understanding of the process is if we got it wrong, right, and we were under, you can't back collect.
That's true.
However, if we get it wrong and we were too high, you could refund. Correct?
I don't know.
No. So either way, it's not. It just didn't be a reduction.
I think what's important to understand is say there is some number percentage reduced this year.
Yeah.
And in theory, then we are under collecting for this year. What that would mean is just next year, depending on where we land, we would just be collecting more next year on future developers.
That's right. If we got it wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Edney? Oh, sorry. You wove and then, no, okay. That was a fake wave. Ms. Armitage?
You cannot do a refund.
Right. Okay, perfect. Okay. Deputy Mayor Sambo?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Not a refund, but I do understand the CAO has authority to waive collection of OSL. Is that correct? So in future years, for example, if there was some kind of writing that needed to be done, there is a mechanism to do that if that needed to be done. Am I correct with that?
So through the chair to Deputy Mayor Sandbo, I do have the authority to waive the collection of offsite levies in the bylaw. I don't think that's something I would practically really ever want to use because it's setting precedent. I think the important part is this is a constant evolving model, and it's always really just a best guess based on the information we have at the time. So whatever decision council makes today, so let's say we collect too much this year, next year we'll start collecting at a lower rate. So this year's developer is going to get a little bit of a higher rate, but what they develop next year will be at a lower rate.
Okay.
If we delay it off and don't collect anything or not enough this year, we may then have to start collecting more next year. And to remember, this is going to collect this over 25 years. So it's not like if we're asking for 10 million, we're collecting 10 million this year and may have overcollected it. It takes some time to ebb and flow and adjust. And so I think that's where this idea of, hypothetically, if we think the cost of the library is twice what it should be, if we cut the OSL by half, we should be in line with where it's going to come next year. I can't make those comments, but that's kind of the general
Okay.
principle.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. And one more clarifying question for that. The difference would be the portion that we could collect on. Is that correct? Because our population would increase this year?
Yeah, so let's, so through yourself or through the chair to you. So let's hypothetically say we're 30,000 people this year and we're going to build a library for 60,000 people. The current taxpayers are going to be paying for 50% of that. If our population grows 10% between this year and next year, and now we have 33,000 of the 60,000, we're going to pay 52.5% or whatever. So it just then puts that burden. And at the end of the day, in a roundabout way, those new residents are going to kind of end up paying for it with their taxes anyways. But yeah, it just changes the proportion that the city ends up having to pay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, Councillor Warzanowski?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through yourself, I do have the question. Maybe this is to yourself, Mr. Edney. For the other options to consider, it sounds like it doesn't really matter if we choose another option because we can always change our OSL model in the future anyway, whether we go to second reading or third reading or have an option to reduce the rate by a certain percentage, right?
Yeah. So through the chair, essentially, I guess the question becomes who's paying for that, right? So again, and I think this is one of the challenges you're probably seeing with the dramatic increases, as Ms. Fisk talked about. There was a long time where we didn't update anything, we didn't do anything, and then it's kind of like anybody who developed during that time got a little bit of a break, and then the people coming to develop when we had to catch up sort of took some of the burden. So it's really that question of, if we know we're going to build a library, do you want the development happening this year to help contribute to that or not?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is also, and I don't know if I speak on the rest of behalf of council, but you're hearing it from the gallery and some people in council is, well, what is it going to cost? And that's an important piece of information to decide what that OSL model is going to look like. So if we don't know, then that's a tough decision to make. So that may be a consideration for council as we structure this motion.
I have a question with regards to the numbers that you provided earlier. So you had mentioned that between 2021 to 2022, we saw a 30% increase on the OSL model. 38? Thank you.
Just 30%.
Yeah. Did development slow down? Like, have we seen a slowdown in our growth, say from 2020? Because my perception would be that we've seen the same increase in growth. We've actually seen more growth. We've seen, and development hasn't slowed down. Would that be a correct assumption on my part that we have not actually seen a slowdown? Because that's part of the concern, right? Part of the concern would, I think, be that the idea, well, if there is this 11.8% increase, that development could slow down. Well, we saw a 30% increase in 2021, 2022, and I don't think that we've seen our growth rate drop over the number of years. Would that be a correct assumption on my part, Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So I think an important point to understand in the model too is the growth rate in our community is part of what is driving those increases, as now that growth rate moves some of our offsite levy projects earlier in time. If we were to see a slowdown in our growth rate, now those projects may move back out, and then that offsite levy would actually have a decrease.
Right.
The challenge the community's facing, developers, taxpayers, council, administration, is how fast our community is growing.
Yep.
And we'll see more information on that at budget time, but that's that play between this model is the faster development happens, the more these projects get moved up, the more they become. The easiest way to think about it, I think, is sort of like on a net present value. If we're not doing this project for 25 years, it doesn't factor very much into today's rate. If we're doing it next year, it's 100% in today's rate. So that's kind of that ebb and flow of the model.
Sure. But there was a question that was asked earlier. I apologize. I don't remember which exact councillor asked the question. It was in regards to percentage costs increases and things like that. And we had, during the public hearing, it was spoke to with regards to the uncertainty in the political climate and things like that. However, I personally, in my position as mayor, nor has this council, I think, been presented with anything that has demonstrated a model that currently, even within the uncertainty, demonstrates a slow down in our growth. I don't believe that we have seen any modeling that demonstrates that at the moment, meaning that we're growing at this pace and we're facing these challenges. Would that be a fair assessment? I see nodding. Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Schindler.
I just wanted to know, because I'm looking in this and I can't find the exact date, when the official administrator, or what date the official administrator asked administration to put in the library levy into the 2025 offsite levy bylaw. I know we had it previously, but I'm just not seeing it here. Do we have that information? It was, I'm thinking March, but I can't remember. March of 2024. Does anybody have that data? Through the chair to administration, I apologize.
Through the chair to council, I think between all of us, we will find that date. But if you want to move on in your questions and come back to us while we find that date, it might be the best use of time.
Okay, and my second question, which may also require research, is administration, through the chair to administration again, is administration aware of other communities around us or in Alberta who are considering a library offsite levy in the future?
Through the chair, mayor, and council, I did conduct some research on just currently what municipalities are implementing the offsite levy to fund their libraries. And other than the city of Calgary, for our comparables, which would include Okotoks, Airdrie, Cochrane, Strathmore, none of them have implemented the offsite levies or the library into their offsite levies. I'm unsure of who is considering that in the future, unfortunately, but just as this moment, it would be city of Calgary alone.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, may I just quickly follow up? You're saying, I thought the city of Calgary has one. They're not considering it, right? Like, sorry, I just needed clarification.
Yeah, no, you're correct. City of Calgary has one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, I believe we're at a point now where a motion should be made as to how we want to proceed. So there are essentially 4 options on the table right now. And so I'm not sure how council would like to proceed. My recommendation would be that we proceed with second reading and open for debate and see where that goes. But that would be my recommendation. So I'm looking to council to a counselor to make said motion, and we'll see where to make that motion. Is anyone willing to make the motion to move to second reading? Councillor Schindler.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented.
Great, thank you. So now we have the motion on the floor, so now we can open for debate around specifics that are within the bylaw. So is there anything, so with that, basically if we were to vote yes on second reading, nothing changes within the current bylaw. If anybody would like to see an amendment within the bylaw, now would be your time to recommend that, and that's what we debate. If nobody wants to see a change, we can just vote on this and away we go. So I guess I would open it up with the first question of, is there a councillor that would, is there an amendment? I guess I'm going to open up 2 avenues for questions. Is there an amendment to bylaw 013-25 that you would be looking for? 1. 2, are there areas where maybe you're looking for further clarification with regards to bylaw 013-25? Opening up to council for those first 2 avenues for questions or comments. Councillor Wojciechowski.
Yes, I do have. Thank you, Mayor Dean. I do have some questions. I alluded to them lightly during conversation before this motion has been presented. I'm comfortable moving forward with second reading. However, I do have the question such that we don't have any surprises moving forward. And we as council, and I know administration has been working very hard to get our bookkeeping up to snuff, so to speak, and start budgeting in a responsible way. I would like to see, at least at a high level, what the budget would be for a new library, so we could more effectively look at what the cost of the OSL would be, and or if there's any other way to fund the library other than an OSL or a combination thereof. So my question is, can administration provide us a high-level budget for the cost of a new library?
So through the chair to Councillor Warzanowski, yes, but probably not in a reasonable amount of time. I think that's where that option was suggested of allow us to go back and work with the library and look at what their plan is. I don't think anybody necessarily debates the cost of what has been proposed. It's just, is what has been proposed the best solution? Does that answer that?
Yeah, so we've been provided a report. Within that report is a number, right? And the offsite levy model is based on the report from the library for building a new library. That is what it is currently based on. So there was work that was done by the library. All of that information has been provided to administration. Administration took that report, and that is how they determined the number and the percentage increase based on the library. Correct? Is that correct, administration? Right. So what we don't have is like, right, that's what we have. And that's what we base it on. So it is based on a report, and it is based on a number, correct? Deputy Mayor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to offer on that as well. It seems to be pretty common that we develop a strong plan for something and then as time goes on, perhaps change it. So this has already happened with fire. It's currently happening with recreation. I don't know transportation and other things quite as well, but this seems to be pretty common. The major risk at this point is not being able to capture the development that's happening this year.
Yeah, and I would also think within that the change is not because of disorganization or not knowing what we're doing, and no one is suggesting that. I'm just saying that the change happens because these are based on 25-year models and things happen, right? And so as more information comes to light, then you make an adjustment accordingly. So I think that's where the change comes from. So other questions from council with regards to the two avenues that I had previously opened? Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Warzanowski.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I'm still sensing some uncertainty in regards to how the library will be funded. What we've been presented is an OSL model to fund the library. And I don't know where I can direct this question, but it was presented that many other municipalities do not have the library in their OSL model. And as a councillor representing public funds of our residents, I have to ask the question why. And then the follow-up question would be, how are they funding their libraries if not through an OSL? I think it's clear that we need a library. What we have to decide is how we're going to pay for it. And I'm not sure I understand the options on how to pay for this, whether it's through the province, whether it's through private funding, whether it's through fundraising, whether it's through an OSL. We've only been presented with one option to date on how we can pay for this library. And I'd like to see if there's other options to help fund this, because other municipalities don't fund it through an OSL. Others do.
So we've been batting this around for a little bit. And I think that we're at a point with regards to this debate. So we had the motion from the official administrator. We've dealt with that motion. We've dealt with this a few different times. I believe that now we are at a point where we are at a second reading, and it sounds like the conversation is centered around library. So I would suggest that if a councillor wanted to, they could suggest an amendment to the second reading to remove the library from the offsite levy model. And then we decide whether or not we support that amendment. I think that's where we're at. I do not currently see another option because it's either, the options are either remove it or reduce it or keep it. How am I doing? Pretty good? Yeah, I have a thumbs up from my CAO. Just a reminder to our administration that when I'm asking questions, I'm doing my best to reflect back to the public how you are responding with nods and thumbs up and things like that. But remember, when I'm talking, the camera's on all of council and our public can't see that. So maybe if when I ask those questions, if we could just chime in with a simple yes, I think that would be helpful for our public, because I am trying my best to reflect what I'm seeing in the gallery from administration. So I believe we're at one of those three options. To accomplish that option, a councillor would have to put forward a suggested amendment. So far, that has not been done. So far, it is, do we pass second reading as it sits right now? I see Mr. Edney waving at me, and I also see Ms. Armitage waving at me. Mr. Edney is not Are you waving at me, or you're not waving at me?
Through the chair, I was going to say you are correct. Those are the three options.
Those are the
you
three
have
options
in front of you, and everything you just stated is correct right now.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question here in a second, except I'm going to go to Ms. Armitage first. I saw you.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we do have the answer to the question that Councillor Schindler asked in regards to when was that motion made.
Oh, thank you.
So on April 9th, 2024, first reading of last year's bylaw, 009-24 was made. Then we set the public hearing, and then there was another motion that official administrator give direction to administration to prepare and include a library offsite levy in the 2025 offsite levy amending bylaw. So it was April 9th, 2024 that motion was made.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to wade into the waters here now. Does a councillor want to suggest an amendment to this motion to remove the library from the offsite levy model? Does a councillor want to make that amendment? Yes or no? Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. I heard from both sides. It's not like I'm against the development, but our community need a library, and I'm strongly suggesting to keep this one. The reason is that we already behind for this, because our library is smaller. So just the one example is one of the city employee last week, I just spoke with him, and he bought house in a neighboring community. The reason is that the same builder or developer told him, because Chestermere is in a high demand, and that's why they are selling bit expensive, and other community is in a low demand and the same size as house and everything, and they're giving a cheaper. So it's not we can so this is just one example. So that's why I'll be thinking it means we cannot slow down the development, and I strongly suggest we would like to keep the offsite levy for the library in the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Does a councillor want to make an amendment to the second reading to remove the offsite levy? If I don't hear a yes, I'm going to go to my second question. Does a councillor want to make that amendment? Okay. Second question. Does a councillor want to make an amendment to the second reading with regards to the library model to reduce the percentage? So right now, I'm going to look to administration to remind me. I believe it is specifically for the library, it's 4%. I'll take a nod, and then I'll tell the public right? The library increases it's a 4%? Is that what we're suggesting? If we were to lower the percentage, what we're talking about is we take that 4% and make it 3, 2, 2.5, 1. Correct? That's what we're talking about?
Through the mayor, correct, but it's a dollar figure.
Right.
That just happens to work out to 4%. So we would make a motion to reduce the dollar figure. I think it's 13,000 and some dollars per hectare by 50% or something, not a percentage to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Not a percentage of the percentage, if that makes sense.
Not a percentage of the percentage. Thank you for that clarification.
Percentage to the dollar amount.
percentage of the dollar amount. So right now the dollar amount is 13,000. That 13,000 is based on the library report that we currently have. Correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So, does a counselor want to change that number? If there's a yes, then we debate it. If nobody wants to, we just keep going. Okay. So, I think then where we're sitting right now when it comes to the library included in the offsite levy model, unless somebody's going to say something after this, because we are not lowering the percentage and we are not removing it unless someone's going to suggest that voting yes on second reading leaves the library in the offsite levy model. Awesome. Is there anything else outside of the library that somebody wants to comment on with regards to bylaw 013-25? Sorry, Deputy Mayor Sample.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just some observations because something that's really important to me in this seat is that all the decisions we make are fair and grounded in the real world. So, I'm looking at that 11.8% and seeing some of the high raises over previous years, and I can understand why that would cause all kinds of people to pause. I was jotting down some notes. That 11.8% would be borne by development. So ultimately, that would be new folks coming into the community. But there's actually a whole bunch of ways that our existing residents and homeowners are paying for infrastructure in different ways. So I just wanted to give some examples to contextualize. Building schools is an infrastructure project. That's going up 29%. So that's coming from the government of Alberta. That's a pretty significant increase. We have a draft budget here in front of me, and this is a big line item, so take this for a grain of salt. But I'm seeing contracted services going up $1 million over last year, and that includes things, the notes say increases to maintenance, increases to new projects, increases in development. So
Sorry, just a reminder, we have not made public yet the budget discussions that we were having this afternoon.
Yeah, that's correct. So that's a line item that was already in the approved budget.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm not adding any details.
Okay, thank
but
you.
that's just, don't worry, I'm on it. But that's just something I'm noticing. We're also adding raised crosswalks all around town. That's an infrastructure project not being borne by OSL. I believe that was $100,000 paving Rainbow Road between Chestmere Boulevard and Highway 1. And I think that was about $4 million not covered by OSL. And these are just projects this year. So I wanted to comment on that because I think it should be noted that the concerns are heard and understood. And I think that ongoing conversation is extremely important to make sure that it's fair. But when I'm contextualizing this, what I'm seeing is that the cost of everything is going up and that doesn't change our needs. So from my perspective, I do think that this is fair. And there's always more information that can be brought forward to make sure that it continues to do that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some comments. I've been waiting for the right time to make them. Should I wait till after the motion is made?
No, we've already made the motion.
Okay.
We're in it.
We're in it. Okay. So I think my concern or my feelings are we need a library. It's I think it's just a matter of when and getting it right and who will fund that. Having said that, I think we have our own concerns about our pace of development being too fast. I don't know if anybody's looking around going, man, I need more development here. I don't think that's happening. But to respond to Build's concerns, they're saying that the report we're providing for the library is not sufficient for them or not up to snuff. And it's hard for me to comment on that, not having seen it. Or having seen a business plan, unless we've seen it. Okay, so I don't remember a business plan being in there for the library.
I believe it was in the report. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It's been a while ago,
It's
but
been
it
a while.
was in the report.
Okay, the business plan was in there.
Yes.
Okay, so with that then, maybe I should have refreshed my understanding of the report more. But I do feel the concern of Bill that maybe we didn't do a good job of it. And what is the cost of doing a good job and getting buy-in? It's time. So do we afford them the time? Do we afford us the time? Or do we push forward? And that's the crux of what I'm trying to deal with right now. And I don't quite have an answer. I'm just trying to conceptualize what is right. And I'm not quite sure at this point. So
Okay. So again, within that, we went through the three options for the library, and nobody has made an amendment. So then, when we come to vote, it's going to be yes or no. Okay, Mr. Edney.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to remind council, just from a procedural perspective, if second reading of this bylaw gets defeated, we cannot bring this bylaw back for at least 6 months, and we'll continue to operate under the 2024 bylaw rates.
Thank you.
Just for awareness.
Right. So with that, then, I do believe that we have provided sufficient time and opportunity. We've gone through the three options when it came to the offsite levy with regards specifically to the library. And I believe we are at a point where we can call for the vote on this because I do believe that we have provided sufficient time and energy with regards to this. So this is me stalling a little bit just in case. With that, the motion is on the floor for council to give second reading to bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented. Seeing no amendments, I am going to call for the vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. So with that, then, council, we have some options. We can, right now, on the proposed agenda schedule, there is a open spot to bring this back for third reading to the May 13th council meeting, because we have a gap meeting on May 6th. So the next council meeting is May the 3rd. However, not to presuppose a third reading, having seen how second reading has going and having, I believe, exhausted the conversation, if you will, with regards to this matter, I am going to suggest that we move to third reading today, with the caveat that, again, you can open a bylaw again at a later time, but by doing third reading today, we would put this to bed, so to speak, and it would allow administration then to move forward with work that they need to do for working with our development community moving forward with 2025. So, with that, do I have a counselor that wants to make a motion for third reading? Counselor Narayan.
Let's move that council will give third and final reading to bylaw 013-25, being the offsite levy bylaw as presented.
Okay. Comments, questions with regards to third reading? Okay. I'm going to call for the vote for third reading of bylaw 013-25. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So with that, I believe that we have come to the end of our special meeting for Tuesday, April the 29th. Just for the public's interest, council is going to be spending the rest of our day for probably the next 16 hours talking about budget. I don't know how long it's going to take, but council will be spending the rest of its day speaking about budget, and we look forward to bringing forward the items to public here at upcoming council meetings in May, with the final approval anticipated coming very quickly for our budget at upcoming council meetings. So just for transparency to the public, what council will be working on is we will be working with administration today on a workshop on the budget. With that, can I have a councillor make the motion to adjourn the special meeting, please? Councillor Randawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the council adjourn the meeting at 11 a.m.
Great, thank you. Call for the vote. Great. Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned. Okay.